Hello everybody, welcome to my Fonkemonke iceberg video. In this video, I'll be sharing to you some facts, and some of them you might not have even known. If you don't know how an iceberg works, the surface level are some facts that are quite obvious. You can know them easily from just watching my videos. Secondly, are beneath the surface. These usually aren't in my videos, and are something you need to really watch consistently and have a look and also piece together some pieces throughout episodes for. The depths are some information that you won't necessarily know unless you're playing on my server. This is a little bit more mysterious. And then the final layer, the abyss, is the most mysterious. Even playing on my server you might not know this, even if you play on my server. So, I hope you have fun. Let's get into it. Surface level. Warcraft Season 2. Warcraft Season 2 is an entry on here, and it's about the server that I'm currently on and the server that I currently play on. I have made the most videos for this server, and it is quite fun in my opinion. I really like to play on it, and there are some major factions, certain rules. You have a good chance of watching this if you watch my series. Warcraft Season 1. Warcraft Season 1 was not my very first Warcraft, but it was probably the most interesting Warcraft to that time. This was made over a year ago, but in that time we did a lot of things. It was very helpful for us to learn how to make a better Warcraft server. It ran over the time span of 2 weeks, and it was very, very interesting. The Dome. The Dome is a structure on Warcraft Season 2. It is currently the administrative capital of the IWP, and it is a nice building that we built. The IWP Civil War. The IWP Civil War was an event, or a war, that happened during, about over a year ago. It happened for about a week, and in this time the IWP split up, and Nico left the IWP. He seceded. It's the most deadly war known to date on the server, and, I hope nothing like it ever happens again. The IWP Armory. The IWP Armory is an almost mythical structure on the server, but it's not mythical ever since I showed it in my video. It was fabled to exist until I actually showed it. This is a place where the IWP citizens can rearm in case of a war. It is hidden, and you will probably not know it unless you are a few select personnel. The Industrial District. The Industrial District, and this is quite an old screenshot, is a place on my server, Warcraft Season 2, where a long time ago my farms used to be. However, due to something that we're going to talk about later, they're not there anymore. Aidens Storage System. My storage system is a very long and vast complex on my server. In this, I house many, many, many different items in a large storage system. You'll know about this. The Mountain. The Mountain is a large structure. It's currently unfinished, but not in this state. Don't worry, we at least finished the exterior. The reason why we didn't finish it was mainly because it was just proving too behemoth of a task, especially as it was only I who was working on it, no one else. It also had to end due to the IWP Civil War, making it very difficult to do anything. Warcraft 1 War Against the Germans. In this war, I'm sorry for the little thing there. That's because of my older videos. We fought the Germans on my server in Warcraft Season 1. We lost, it was an awful, awful loss. I can't believe we did. But that's that. Warcraft Season 3. This is a little bit obscure because these are 3 videos that I released when I kind of wanted a fresh start back in March of this year. These 3 videos, I had a lot of fun in them, and it was a fresh take on Warcraft being basically anarchy, but in the end we wanted to go back to the old one because it just didn't work. There were people who were becoming far too powerful, and by the end of it, it was becoming inactive again, so there was no point in not going back to the old one. Warcraft 3 Villagers. This is a slightly more, once again, obscure thing, because in Warcraft 3, yes, I did have some villagers, and yes, I killed many villagers. This is talking about the villagers that I actually had hidden. I had 2 different sets of villagers hidden that are still undisclosed, and I won't disclose in this video if we are to ever return to Warcraft 3. Beneath this surface. The creative server. The creative server is something you'll know if you've watched my videos for a little while. They haven't been featured, it hasn't been featured so much in my channel, but people who play on my server will know this. Like, they will really know this. Because this was the very first thing on my server when I first started it back in January of 2021. It is a fun world where we did a bunch of stuff in creative, made many mini games. So yeah, it was really, really fun. Hermitcraft server. This is also pretty obscure because I only released 3 videos of it. Once again, 3-episode curse, but they weren't too good and not too watched either. See, if you look over here, yeah, there wasn't much, but it was basically a server where we used the Hermitcraft Season 7 seed to play on. But after a while, we grew tired of it, and actually I released a video griefing that server. So the Blackfist incursion was over in, I think, late September, yes. That was when Blackfist, after have switched factions with Nico and Moritz many times, finally was banned, not only for hacking, but before he was banned, he was killed. He was killed by Moritz and Nico. Hermitcraft successful shopping district. So this is another more obscure thing that you wouldn't have really seen too much. That actually Hermitcraft, our server, there actually had a successful shopping district, which is quite interesting. And it had 3 or 4 shops, a netherite one, a bookstore, which is actually why I have a bookstore now. And it also had a golden carrot shop from me, which was outrageously expensive, keep in mind. And I think Adi made a potion shop. That's a picture from inside. See, I'm breaking 2 for 2 diamonds, mending 3 diamonds. Warcraft 3 railplan. This is another thing more obscure because the railroad was featured in 1 episode, although it took me so long to make that railroad and I had great ambitions for it. It just, once again, we came off that server and went back to the old one of Elytra flying. Secret buildings. Secret buildings is an entry of all the buildings that are on any server, past or present, that perhaps doesn't exist anymore, and whose builders, who originally built them to keep them secret underground, perhaps, will make it so that we never ever know where those buildings are or what it contained ever again. Those buildings are going to be never ever going to see the light of day again. And, well, because their owners are inactive. Warcraft 1 base raid. This is an entry talking about when me and Ale raided Jan Let's Go's and Black Cyclops' base. In this, we stole a lot of their stuff and effectively ended the war between us and the Germans. It's the last video I made on that server, Ale's Earth server. This entry talks about Ale's Earth server. Ale's Earth server was the very first server that I actually recorded, and I joined it with my friend who had newly gotten Minecraft at the time, Vincent, and later Adi. I have some more to talk about the server later, but it was very good help for learning a lot about a server. See, here are some of the episodes that we had on it. Once again, the 3-episode curse. Early server lag. This entry talks about how in the early days of my Warcraft server Season 2, we had a lot of lag, and this was debilitating because it made people not want to play on my server anymore. And it is a major reason why, as we're going to see in another entry future on, people did not play on my server, which is quite sad. It's now fixed, though. The Great Hack of September. This is when the server, I think I've got a picture. This is when the server was griefed by Lavali, who claims he got his account stolen and someone else did it, but nonetheless we still banned him. He killed all of the villagers inside our old villager enclosure, as well as griefing the industrial district and the very first shopping district at that time. Quite sad. Mort's alleged X-ray. This is quite deep down on the thing, because in the early days of the server, there was a sort of conspiracy that Moritz was X-raying, because Moritz was very unfortunate. He was constantly dying in attempts to get netherite, and he seemed very frustrated. We had known that he had used X-ray in the past, not on my server, but actually on a different server. However, we're still not sure of this today. Moritz denies it, but I'm not sure how I stand on it, although I don't believe he uses X-ray anymore. There is a chance that he used to. Pablo alleged hacking. Pablo has a hacked client, and he actually didn't log on to my server with a hacked client beforehand, but it was one of the creative servers. This is unknown. It's not resolved. I don't know if Pablo ever used a hacked client on my server. It's unlikely he did, though. If he did, well, that's why it's on the iceberg. The depths. Wombat Man and Waluigi. These characters are from the very first thing of Ali's server. Here's a screenshot of their old base. We actually found out that they were duping and using X-ray, but these are pretty crucial characters. These were our first main enemies, me and Vincent. The One Day War. This is quite far down on the list, and that's because it was known. We told Trey that we were going to invade him, and we told him that we were going to make him part of the IWP. And so that's why I'm putting it on the list so far down, because that's not immediately clear with my video. Also, well, it's kind of unfair. 2 players in netherite and diamonds killing someone in iron. I know. The noisy incursion. Sorry. This happened far more recently. The noisy incursion was when a group of players logged on to the server, and they were originally fine until we found out they were actually duping certain materials to get them extreme material wealth, and they distributed that throughout the server extremely well, which was very hard to cover up, because that meant that the price of much was inflated, like netherite, which we used to have an extreme shortage of, is now completely patched due to that noisy incursion. Why Warcraft 1 ended. This is, again, pretty deep down, because it's unknown why Warcraft 1 ended, and it's pretty mysterious if you only watched my videos. However, I'll make it clear that that was because Vincent was getting bored of the server. I can also remember getting a little bored of the server at the time. We hit around the 2-week milestone. The 2-week milestone is something I'm going to talk to you later about. But I remember after getting my elytra, I was bored. There was nothing to do, and the server was all but empty. I believe that's why he stopped it. The other creative server. This is another deep down entry, because I actually had a creative server in between the making of Hermitcraft and another one of the forgotten servers that I'll talk about later, which is the precursor to Warcraft 2. This creative server, we actually messed around a lot in the server, which was not good, and I believe we caused the first server crash ever, which is when we learned about the /fill command, and sadly many server members did /fill with TNT, blowing up a large portion of things. However, in the end, I think it wasn't that bad. This is when people like Chris and Pablo joined for the first time during this server. The Civil War rules. This is another deep down on the iceberg, because it's not actually very well known that we had Civil War rules. The 2 rules were, you're not allowed to fight inside core IWP territory, I'm talking about like in the villager enclosure and industrial district, and you're not allowed to destroy each other's stuff. Just like the Geneva Convention, or a strictly worded UN letter, these aren't necessarily followed, and they weren't, as Nico and I destroyed stuff of the opponent's team, and in my case the friendly team, on one occasion. So, yeah. The failed shopping district in Warcraft Season 1. Now, it's not actually known, because this was in the 2nd week, and I actually had made my last video after the first week. During the first week on Warcraft Season 1. This shopping district was a little thing that we created, that me and Adi created. It was a large concrete shop. And in this shop it sold diamond gear and potions, and I think we were planning to expand it. It made one sale until I remember the server being closed down. No one else built any shops, henceforth why it's failed. Inactive players. This is deep down on the iceberg because we've got a long list of inactive players. People from Black Cyclops to Butterfingers to Maya Soul, who had only ever logged on an occasion of times. If she had her head on the server, it would be exceedingly rare. There are many, many inactive players and some unanswered questions, like why did Ellen Man and Cloudboy log off? And those answers are because they got bored. Or actually, to be honest, I don't know. They just stopped playing. This has happened to a lot of players on the server, sadly, who seem to get bored after a while. And, well, we need players, so if you're interested in joining the server and you have a good heart, well, just email me. What happened between Warcraft 16 and 17? Warcraft 16 and 17 are very notable because, unlike any other episode, they had a massive space of time, a massive gap in between them. That is a gap of about 4 months, which is a pretty big amount of time. Well, a little bit less than 4 months, 3.5. But in that time, a lot of obscure things happened. For one, we actually had the Blackfist incursion. For two, we also had that Blackfist and Moritz and Nico were exchanging factions a lot. I actually have a funny story from this time that I've never told before, unless, of course, you were involved. And this was that once I put Moritz and Nico up against each other when they were in the same faction to actually have a little mini-war. What happened there is once Moritz asked me if Nico was plotting against him. Curious to see what would happen, I said yes, Nico was. And so I basically told both sides that the other side was plotting against them. So one day, Moritz decided to camp for Nico to come online and to kill him. This was not successful. And actually, Moritz ended up dying. So did I. And they were furious about this when they learned that neither had any idea to kill each other. So, yeah, it turned out badly for me, but it was still funny as hell. Obscure mall shops. This is deep down on the iceberg because of many obscure mall shops that have never really been featured in a video. These include things from Trey's Iron Shop, this first one, Nico's food vendor, which also is another thing that happened between episodes 16 and 17, and as well as other ones such as Adi's food shop, Tessa's head shop, and Ali's wool shop. Most of these shops got destroyed eventually. Also, keep in mind, Quentin actually had reserved a couple slots, although Quentin was seldom online. The last time I saw Quentin online was a long time ago. These were eventually removed to make it look nice, the mall to look nice, rather than having a bunch of old shops around it. So, early raid farm. This is a very interesting entry, and it's actually quite a deep rabbit hole. On the early days of the server, me and Moritz had an idea. And this was when Moritz was still living in the IBC, so he was still quite rich, and was before he logged off for a long time. I think it was around episode 3 to 4 or something, when he decided, and me, to build an easy raid farm. We thought that we'd get so much money through making a raid farm. This was actually unsuccessful, and because Nico found out about this, and he was less than pleased about our scheme to make a bunch of money, and it basically involved a huge argument. Well, the raid farm was made anyways, and no, it was not as good as we thought it was. No, we did not get unlimited money. The Abyss. The real first shopping district. The real first shopping district was actually far before any other shop in the shopping district. This was Mort's Diamond Shop. It was created, never stocked though, like I think in the very first days that Warcraft 2 started, which is crazy. It was selling diamonds, and I remember one time there was a horse in there. It was created before I made my mending vending machine, the second shop, which is now featured in the museum. I think we demolished Moritz's shop to make space for the end ship thing, which is another one of those obscure shops. And well, I have no idea what happened to the blocks that made it up. The 3 video curse. The 3 video curse is quite an interesting entry, as the 3 video curse is something that's quite interesting. Notice how in all of these episodes, they only last to episode 3 or to while I was making an episode 3 at the time. This is because of something very interesting. It's a phenomenon where people get bored after about 2 weeks. And 2 weeks is the time for me to make 3 videos when a server starts. As you can see, in Hermitcraft 3, that was around a 2-week time period. Although the server lasted far longer than actually making this other video, still I stopped making videos because I just couldn't find enough interesting to record due to the fact that not enough others were logging online. In Warcraft SMP3, this ended as well. Once again, not enough important stuff that happened for me to record. Now, Warcraft episode 2, that was because the server, Ale stopped the server suddenly one day, which was quite sad. Now, in World of Funky episode 3, that was when I had last made my shrine to McDonald, and then I started concentrating more on Minecraft servers instead. Now, eventually all my worlds got destroyed when I tried to change them over, so that didn't work. Oh, Vince's cheating. Vince's cheating is quite an interesting entry on this list, as Vincent is quite an interesting character. He is not active anymore, but he used to actually own the server before I did. He owned Warcraft 1, and he owned the secret server before Warcraft 1. You see, Vincent, he had a little habit of cheating, and this was ever since we cheated on Ale's server, which is a latter entry. Basically, what he did, and I couldn't find the screenshots for this anymore, was he would change himself to creative, to build stuff, to give himself items sometimes. And he actually hid this and told us that it was all legit. When we actually found out it wasn't, we had a trial for him, and he wished to be exiled. We actually had a screenshot of this that I couldn't find anymore, of a horse spawn egg, which is quite interesting. Here's a photo of Vince's inventory in the early days of that server. To my knowledge, this is the only surviving screenshot that I have on this computer, at least, of that server. The real Warcraft Season 1. This is quite a deep entry, as the real Warcraft Season 1 was actually an unrecorded thing we did to test. It did not go well, as I said before, Vincent did some cheating. Also, this was when Ellenman and Cloudboy first joined. This was quite an interesting time, and it was a pretty fun server, although it was short-lived. Unpublished videos. Unpublished video refers to the numerous videos that I had recorded videos for, I had a string of videos ready, or I had made completely ready that I have never posted. Some of these will have filled a lot of the plot holes that I have explained today, and some of them are just on topics I've forgotten about long ago. Alleged Herobrine sightings. My server has had some alleged Herobrine sightings. For example, this one time on the very early days of the server, back when it was still extremely laggy, I went down, I was mining. I had just dug down, and there's the mine, I still actually have it, it's still intact today, and you can still go to that same spot. And at the very bottom, near bedrock, I stumbled into a mine shaft, and I looked down this long corridor. This is not the photo of it, but it looked very similar. And at the end, I swear I saw 2 white eyes. I was completely freaked out, so I immediately ran back up those stairs, and then the server crashed. Now, this was not too uncommon as the server was quite laggy at the time, but upon logging back in, it turned out that the server had reverted back in time, and the staircase I had dug down was nowhere to be seen again. So, of course, I did not dig back into that mine shaft. I instead chose a different route, but it's a very interesting story. Forgotten servers. This Forgotten Servers iceberg is quite interesting because, you see, I actually had created many different servers that I would have, or I should have played on, or at least shown to the public. This involves things like, of course, my first two servers, for example, the pre-Warcraft 1 server, the test server, then after that, the creative server, then after that, again, the other creative server, and then a very interesting server that I haven't talked about yet. It's actually, I think, my second or third longest running server after Warcraft Season 2 was the precursor to Warcraft Season 2. It was not Hermitcraft, it was not Warcraft, it was just me, Chris, and Pablo, and at one point, Vincent and Adi, although they towards the later stages decided not to play. And it was quite enjoyable. I remember we did have one scandal of duping, but other than that, it was a nice, calm, peaceful server with my friends. Some other forgotten servers, though, include the island server, which I was going to make a video about, but sadly I never did. And the server that, this is probably the server that I have played the most on that I haven't made a video about, and that is my guns mod server. I have a 1.7.2 guns mod server that I've done a lot of playing on, and it's been very fun. Ale server cheating. This is quite interestingly the last thing on the iceberg, but basically we actually had this problem on Ale's server of Ale giving us op. Now, this was a bad idea. So originally we needed it to fly around. However, when given to the wrong hands, for example, Vincent, and I admit I did do some cheating myself, although after a while I decided not to, and I thought that it took the fun out of the game. However, Vincent, he decided it would be much easier just to, well, cheat, and he did. And, well, that's what happened. He cheated, and a lot of the stuff that was built was bad because of it. But this is a rare screenshot from that server, by the way. It was a very interesting server. So, thank you for watching my video. Subscribe if you want to. Get more videos recommended to you by me. This is the complete iceberg. Yeah, sure, screenshot it if you want. I really don't care. This video did take me actually quite a long time to make. I know it is a long one, but I am thankful that you guys have watched it. So I'm hopeful that this cleared some things up for you guys, and well, thank you.